Yes.
All right, so we are now recording. Thank you for joining our third session. In this lesson or session or workshop, we're going to look at IELTS speaking part 2, which is my favorite part of the speaking test, actually. But first of all, I just want to check what you guys know about this part. And so I've prepared just some very, very basic questions. Now I'm going to put you into pairs to ask these questions, just the basics of IELTS part 2. So please don't answer right now. I will put you into pairs for this. How long must you speak for in part 2? Do you have any time to prepare? If so, how long? What kind of topics might appear in part 2? Next, what happens if you don't speak for the whole time? And also, what happens if you go over time? What happens if you speak for too long? I'm going to send these questions to two places. Firstly, I'm going to send them to the Zoom chat. Secondly, I'm going to send them to our Telegram chat. I'm going to put you guys into pairs and I will give you just 4 or 5 minutes. And also this can be an opportunity for you to introduce yourselves again, to say hello and so on. 5 people. Cool. Okay, so it's the internet, as always. I put in the Telegram chat, if you don't have a laptop or a computer, please don't join. One person joined because she said she just can't access with the laptop, but she does have access to her laptop, but she's just in the Zoom on her phone. The other person doesn't have a laptop and just decided to join anyway. This will be an interesting experiment. I'm not sure if it'll work if candidates only have a phone. If it does work, great. It means that more people can join in the future from their phone. However, if it doesn't work, then I'm going to have to be stricter in the future. So I always like to give students or candidates or whatever a nice, easy task to start with, right? The task that we have today is just the basics of part 2. Nothing difficult. This is stuff that people should already know. But also, if they don't know it, it's an opportunity, for their partner to explain to them some of these very, very basic things. So I'm not doing all the talking. Whenever you have group classes, you don't want this teacher talking time to be too high. I tend to be quite a chatty person and I can speak and speak and speak and speak and speak. And this is why I always want to put students into pairs so that, I don't need the speaking practice. They can speak. Also, it gives them a chance to kind of introduce themselves a little bit. So that's why I start with this very, very basic task. Let's just check in on some of those people who are on their phones just to see if it's working.
You have to remember a shorter story or a shorter presentation, you have less opportunity to use good vocabulary, or there's just limited things in there. Like you don't even have a lot of complex sentences because what, you finished in 10 sentences? You're leaving a really bad impression and you're slightly sabotaging yourself. Okay, let's see. What kinds of topics would appear in part 2? Oh, it's a good one. What kinds of topics?
What kinds of topics should in module speaking part 2?
In part 2, go ahead.
Can you see the question, Sohag?
General topics.
Can you see the question, Sohag?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry. Where are the questions?
Actually, in part 2, something described
Sohag. I sent some questions earlier. Can you see those questions?
No, sir. I couldn't see the question.
So I've sent them to the Zoom chat and I've sent them to the Telegram chat.
Okay.
Can you see them now?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, can you read those questions? I just want to check because I don't know how it works from a phone, right? So I don't know for sure if candidates can see the things that I share. So can you read those questions for me?
Yeah, I will try. So. Mhm. I don't have any question in my.
So I sent them to the Telegram channel and I sent them to the Zoom chat.
It would be better for me. It's Telegram.
No. I have sent them already to both places in Zoom and on Telegram. Let me just check. Can you see them, Brian?
Okay,
Yes, I
I will
can.
check it. I will
Cool.
check it.
Vinendra, can you
Yes,
see them?
yes,
Yes.
I found it.
Soha, can
It's
you read those questions?
okay. Work with a partner and answer the following question. Okay.
Cool.
How long?
Awesome. That's great. Cool.
All right.
Okay. Sorry, it's very bright in here. Maybe I'll turn off a light. So the reason I did that, and again, it can sound rude, right, when you're interrupting someone, but I really need to know if it works from a phone. And Sohag, it seems obvious to me that if I copy the screen, I send the questions to Telegram, I send the questions to Zoom. To me, it seems obvious that students will find them, but very often students like I don't know, don't pay attention or they don't know what's going on or it's their first time. So it's really, really important to check that students actually have access to the things that we send them. I'm going to check the other group to see if they can see them because there's another one on the phone there.
So next question is, what happens if you don't speak for the whole time? I think that if you are not able to maintaining the 2 minutes to speaking in front of your examiner, at that times you need to preparing your answer and try to extend your idea and realize what types of information you need to present in front of your examiner. That is not mandatory to relate about all of the questions. And if you don't understand the Q card topics, then you can request your examiner to elaborate. How can you elaborate these questions with him? And the last question is, what happened if you go over times? It honestly, if I say that if you spend over 2 minutes at that times, your examiner inform you, you already spent 2 minutes and try to share his thought and ask him some follow-up questions that are totally based on the part two questions or the Q topics. So I think
By the way,
that
sorry
is
to interrupt.
happened.
I'm sorry, Shakil. Welcome to our session, and sorry to interrupt. Olivia, I just want to check because you're on the phone. Can you see the questions that I sent?
Yes, I can see it clearly.
Okay, awesome, cool. I'll be quiet. I'll disappear. Okay, so candidates can see the stuff that I've sent. I still think if I do reading tasks in the future, it might be difficult on phones, but maybe I will allow one session in the future. Again, this is an experiment where, and it's always dangerous. Well, not dangerous, but it's always risky when you have like a completely open session because you don't know who's going to come. You don't know what level the different candidates are, the different students. You don't know which ones have good connection problems. You can't say to people, don't connect from your phone because people will just connect from their phone. It's the internet. It's what happens. I don't know. The first session went very, very well. The second session I felt was a little bit of a disaster because of so many internet problems. We'll see how this one goes. But anyway, it's all fun. It's all an experiment. It's all good. So let's pull some of these people back. We'll get a little bit of feedback. Mm-hmm. Okay, so just waiting for them to rejoin. All right, welcome back. Let's get a little bit of feedback. First of all, we have somebody joined a little bit later. That's Shakil. Do you want to tell us just something about yourself, Shakil? About where you're from, why you're taking IELTS, and what score you're hoping to get?
Well, gents, thank you so much for giving me a chance. My full name is Rashiduzzaman Shakil, and you can address me Shakil. I'm from Bangladesh, and I'm preparing myself to sit on my IELTS exam just for my higher education. Right now, I completed my Bachelor of Science, but I'm preparing myself to going to my master's degree in abroad. So as a result, I think that IELTS is mandatory for me for going to my master's degree.
What score are you hoping for in IELTS?
Well, basically, from my side, I need around 6.5 for my master's program.
Okay. Are you confident that you should get 6.5, right?
Right now, honestly, if I say I am confident, I will get 6.5 in my final IELTS exam.
Cool. All right. Well, we're focusing on part 2 today, and we had a few of these questions. Let's just ask some people. Abdullah, how long must you speak for in part 2?
I think for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
we need to speak.
It's actually 1 to 2 minutes. Now, of course, we always recommend, use the whole 2 minutes if you have them, but it's a minimum of 1 minute, maximum of 2 minutes. Fine. Shakil, do you have any time to prepare?
I think that the examiner give us around 1 minute for preparing the questions, and we have to maintain these times, and we have to speak in front of the examiner within 1 minute.
Yeah, so you have 1 minute of preparation time. After this 1 minute, the examiner will say, okay, that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk. Can you start speaking now? But yeah, 1 minute. This is a little bit trickier. I don't know, Virendra, can you give me a couple of topics that might appear in part 2? Or just one topic?
That start with describe, like future that's related to education.
Something connected to education. Sure, Brian?
Again, it's something that starts with the word describe, and it would be about people. Person with a strong opinion, people with great careers, inspiration, da da da.
Sure. Olivia, can you think of another topic?
Memories.
You're muted at the moment, my dear.
Yeah, sorry. They can ask you to describe a favorite place you visited, somebody you admired, or talk about cooking.
Cool. So nice. We have a nice range of like abstract things like education or technology or something like this. More common is to have something like people. Describe a person who likes cooking. Describe a person who you admire. Describe a person who you spend a lot of time with. Describe a family member, blah, blah, blah. You may have describe a famous place in your city. Describe a place you like to go to when you have time. You might also, another very, very common one is events. Right? Talk about a popular holiday in your country, or talk about a music festival, or talk about a time you went to a concert. So the abstract topics, they can kind of come up, but usually we get, talk about a person, a place, an event. But cool. But the theme of education could come up because it could be like talk about a teacher you had when you were younger, right? Okay, let's go to Sohag. What happens if you don't speak for the whole 2 minutes?
Yeah, actually, I heard you were talking about part 2, speaking part 2.
Mm-hmm. What happens, Sohag, if you don't speak for the whole 2 minutes in speaking part 2?
Actually, I think don't have any issues or problem there have if I say above 2 minutes.
Okay. What happens if you speak for 30 seconds, for example?
The examiner will concern about my coherence lackings, so he will, I think, don't give my desired band in speaking module.
Well, he will give your deserved band. It just means the band will be lower. But if you are very, very short of time, the examiner will ask a follow-up question.
Also don't have any chance to explore my vocabulary range. So he also could not know about my range of vocabulary also.
Sure, we're not talking just about assessment right now. We're just talking about some basic things. So if you speak for about 30 seconds, the examiner might ask you a follow-up question to help you to keep going. Right? We don't want this because we want to see that candidates can speak independently at length. The examiner doesn't want to ask you this follow-up question. But if you only speak for 30 seconds, the examiner might say something like, well, how often do you spend time with this person? They might ask you one of the questions in the prompts, or can you tell me more about da, 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 da. Usually it doesn't happen. If you stop speaking for, after about 1 minute, 1 minute and 10 seconds. If you pause for about 5 seconds and it seems as if the candidate has finished, the examiner will just say thank you, and that will be the end. Now, sometimes candidates speak for about 1 minute, they stop, the examiner says thank you, and then the candidate tries to continue their turn. Don't do this. Once the examiner says thank you, that's the end of part 2.
End of the part 2. Okay.
Abdullah, what happens if you go overtime? What happens if you hit 2 minutes?
I mean, I don't know if this is gonna happen because the examiner will stop me after like 2 minutes, as far as I know. So I'm not sure if I passed the over 2 minute. I don't know. There is nothing gonna happen. I mean, there is no extra marks for that. So I'm not sure, honestly, to answer this question.
The examiner will say thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about going overtime. You're absolutely right, Abdullah. I usually give the candidate an extra 5 seconds to finish the sentence. If they don't finish the sentence, then I just interrupt and say thank you. And that's not a problem. Some people freak out and think like, oh, the examiner interrupted me. And sometimes that can affect people's part 3 because they start worrying, like, did I speak for too long? It's normal. If you go to 2 minutes, the examiner will say thank you, and that's fine. They'll go straight into part 3. Okay. A couple of other questions. I'm going to go to, let's go to Brian first for this one. What do you think examiners are looking for specifically in part 2? So, of course, we know, right? We're always looking for, sorry. I hear a bit of background noise from somewhere. Sorry. So we all know that examiners are looking for, in all parts, right? They're looking for grammar, vocab, fluency, pronunciation in all parts. But what specifically do you think, Brian, we're looking for in part 2?
I think there's a lot to be said about spontaneity, natural use of language, the ability to transition from one idea to another at ease. You shouldn't be doing it painstakingly. Like, the examiner knows when you're taking too much time, even just your vowel elongation, right? You're trying to stretch your words to create that distance. It should feel natural, the turn, the evolution, and also it shouldn't feel like you memorized things. Memorized language is very, very.
Virendra, let's go to you. All of those are good points. Virendra, can you think of anything else that an examiner might look for in part 2?
I think
No?
I think formation of ideas.
I can't quite hear. I'll go to you, Abdullah. Can you think of anything else that examiners might look for specifically?
Sure. I mean, your fluency should be very good. You need to, as Brian said, like you can't like stop too much during your speaking. I mean, your vocab. I need as one of the criteria they're looking for lexical resources. Like many, you need to provide many.
Sure, but that's something for the whole test, right? The whole test, we're looking for grammar, vocab, fluency, pronunciation.
Yeah.
But we're trying to think specifically about part 2 here.
For me, I think it's very important to not stop during your speaking.
Complex sentences.
And answer directly to the question. Don't try to, move to another ideas. So that's what I think, maybe.
Staying on topic, absolutely. Olivia, you mentioned something called complex sentences.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
What are complex sentences, Olivia?
I'm not the one that mentioned.
Oh, it wasn't you?
Somebody
Sorry.
else.
Who
Yeah.
said complex sentences?
Actually, me. I
Cool.
said,
Okay. What are complex sentences, Virendra?
so I think passive passive voice. Instead of saying it very in a simple sentences, we have to structure the sentence in a.
Can you give me an example of a complex sentence? It's okay. If you can't, it's okay. You just say no. So always, it's always interesting. I'm very interested to know like what candidates know and what candidates don't know, because complex sentences by definition, they have a linguistic thing. Usually it's like clause plus connective plus clause. That's an example of a complex sentence, right? I like tea, but I don't like coffee. That's even a complex sentence.
Yeah.
It's not very difficult to produce language like this, but it is an example of a complex sentence. I don't think we need to worry. As an examiner, I don't think too much about the use of complex sentences so much in part two. Throughout the test as a whole, we have to think about that a little bit. Okay, so we have some of your ideas here. Now, I've put some of my ideas on the board too, specifically about what I think about when I'm checking this part two. An interesting thing is, does the candidate feel comfortable after the first 30 seconds? We know the first 30 seconds, you are in your notes, you're prepared, you're saying like, okay, I want to talk to you about my best friend, John. I have known him for a long time and I was in school with him and he is such a wonderful person. I really like him. He's so handsome and he wears really nice clothes and he's such a great guy. And then after 30 seconds, they run out of the notes and they think, oh no, I don't know where I am. So for me specifically, I love checking those candidates after 30 seconds because I know they're going to start strong, but can you maintain that? This is the challenge in part two. Does the candidate feel lost after about 1 minute? So, usually the candidate runs out of energy after 30 seconds, but then after 1 minute, they are totally out of their notes and they just sometimes then they have to repeat their ideas. So this is what usually happens. Candidates start strong. After about 30 seconds, they go back to their notes. They're a bit confused. After 1 minute, they have no more material to talk about. And so they just repeat what they said at the beginning. An interesting one here is, do I have to make a lot of effort to follow the candidate's story description? How hard do I need to work as an examiner to follow this story? Do I need to close my eyes and pay attention to every word and try like a detective to, he means this or she means that? Or can I sit back, relax, and enjoy the show? And also, like Brian mentioned earlier, does it feel like one blob of speech, or is there clear progress from one point to the next point to the next point to the next point? Transitioning. First, I'm talking about this. Now I'm talking about this. Finally, I'm talking about this. When you have a long turn, 2 minutes, it's really important to guide your listener through. Blob of speech sounds like this. So I want to talk to you about my friend John. My friend John is a kid who was in school, and I really like my friend John because my friend John is really nice. And I like friend John. My friend John, we were in the same school, and when we went to the same school, we used to do things together. We used to play football together. He's a really nice guy. I really liked him. We went to the same school together, and we were in the same class, and we had the same teacher, and we always did the same thing, and we played football. So notice I'm repeating my ideas. It doesn't feel like I'm moving from one point to the next. Yeah, so these are specifically some of the things that I look for in part two. And it's also some of the things that I hope you will look for when you are judging each other in part two today, which will be fun. Okay, any questions on or any additions to this thing or any comments on this like examiner assessment list? Nope. Cool. So preparation. You know that we have. Oh, I'm gonna throw this question to you guys. So we have a very clear question here. Some people think that when you're practicing at home, right, when you're doing your preparation at home, when you prepare for this part 2 and you practice it at home, some people think it's a good idea just to follow the time in the exam. Stick to 1 minute preparation, speak for 2 minutes. Then stick to 1 minute preparation, speak for 2 minutes when you're preparing at home. Others think that it's okay to take more time to prepare when you're doing your preparation at home. I'm just curious to see what you think. I'm going to throw you into pairs to answer this question. When you're doing your home preparation, should you do it just like it is in the exam, or can you take more time to prepare in your preparation? I'll put these questions in 2 places. I'll throw them in the Zoom chat. They are there now. I will also throw them in the Telegram channel. They are there now. I'll put you into pairs. I'll give you 5 minutes. All right. So I really want to monitor because I want to see how Sohag and Virendra are doing, because they both have connection problems, I guess, and Sorag is on his phone. So I want to check those guys.
Take more time to discuss with your partner. What do you?
How do you think it's preparation in home? Is it okay for 1 minute, more than 1 minute?
Actually, I prefer to always preparing at home above 1 minute. I think it should be also be above 2 minutes, because when you are preparing above 2 minutes, you should also able to say in your actual exam in part 2 module, you should be able to say at least 2 minutes. I think so.
Vibe of the exam or something. So yeah, I mean that's my opinion actually. And
I like that. So with you, like you're a doctor, right? So you have to diagnose the patient first. Are they
right.
the type who can endure this kind of treatment, or do they respond better to this kind of treatment? Very good. I wouldn't just prescribe one way of doing it, but when I know that a person has the language skill and the confidence to do it, I would never give them time. I like
Okay.
encouraging them to.
Okay, so one group is clearly stronger than the other here, but both groups are on topic, so I'm happy to let them talk. Of course, they'll probably run out of things to talk about, right? Because it's just one simple question. But I like to do this sometimes just to give candidates that feeling of like, oh, I have nothing more to say, but they need to say something, which is something that often happens in part 2. So I'm just going to let them stew with that question for just a few moments more. Next up, I'm going to give advice. I'm going to talk about my strategy. I'm going to show how I take notes for this speaking part 2. I'm going to give my own performance, and then we'll get into the good stuff. Then we will see the candidates doing. We'll see the candidates doing this task for themselves. Okay, I think it's time to pull them back. Okay, here they come. Okay, so of course there are different ways to prepare. Now, if you're the type of person who only wants to do exam conditions all the time, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 2 minutes, that's up to you. That's fine. I would advise, certainly at the beginning of your learning, and especially if you have problems getting through the 2 minutes, I would recommend taking as much time as you need at first to take notes. Think of it like a marathon runner. When a marathon runner prepares for a marathon, they don't practice by running a marathon, right? They do like 5 kilometers and 10 kilometers, and then they do a 20 kilometer, and then they take like a 10-kilometer run again. So you want to build up to it. So if you have problems, filling the 2 minutes, or if you have problems writing all of your notes in 1 minute, which many of us do when we first start preparing, my advice is take as much time as you need to get it right with taking the notes at first. Later, you can work on your timing, you can make it faster, but at first, we want to make sure that our notes are helping us to get through the 2 minutes. I still think when you're practicing your speech, only take 2 minutes, don't go over, only take 2 minutes, but with the preparation, take as much time as you need, even if you need 10 minutes to take notes. People often complain about idea generation. And if you have problems with idea generation, this 1 minute is going to go by very quickly. Now, there are different strategies that we can use to approach part 2. I'm going to show you just a very, very simple strategy today. There are a few different strategies. There are lots of people online that say, use my strategy, or this is the secret strategy that works. There are no secret strategies. There are a lot of different strategies. They can all work. They can all help you. But also, a strategy will not guarantee you a band 9, right? If you are a band 6, then the strategy can help you to reach your potential of band 6, band 6.5. If you're a band 7, this strategy will help you to show off, the maximum language that you can produce. Having a good strategy will not give you better scores for vocab or pronunciation or things like this, but it will help you get through the 2 minutes, and that's what we're focusing on today. So, my simple strategy is this one. It's so smart. I should sell this. Anyway, a simple opening statement, a simple introduction. And don't worry, I am going to show you what I mean here. A direct answer to question 1 plus some details. A direct answer to question 2 plus some details, a direct answer to question 3 plus some details, and then I'm going to freestyle the answer to question 4. I'm going to relax with this and just let my spontaneous language come out. But it's not enough for me just to show you the strategy and say, okay, use it. Well, let's actually show you how it works. And to do this, and just to show you that, the strategy can work with any theme, I'm going to let you guys choose the task. So, Abdullah, can you give me just one opening sentence for task 2? Like describe a time when, or talk about something.
I mean, can I give you an example for a question to start answer it? I mean,
I just want an IELTS speaking task 2. So talk about a person who, or a place where, or a time when.
Okay. First of all, I'm gonna mention, if I'm talking about someone, I'm gonna mention his name.
No, Abdullah, I just want the question.
You need the question. I'm sorry, I was thinking about to answer the question.
No, we don't know
Talk
the
about
question.
your. That's what I'm thinking. Talk about your a person you really admire, maybe.
Cool. Talk about a person you really admire. Now, Olivia, what questions could we have here where it says you should say?
Describe a memorable gift you gave to somebody.
No, we have our question, Olivia. Talk about a person who you really admire. Now we're thinking of some of these smaller questions. You should say.
Okay, I'm going to start it like.
No, Olivia. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Cool. I am not asking you for answers here. We're trying to build an IELTS task 2 question. So the first part is talk about a person you really admire. Now we need 3 questions here.
Who is the person is?
You should say who the person is. Another one, Olivia?
How are you related to this person?
Yeah, but if it's a person you admire, you might not be related to them,
right? Why
right?
do you admire this person?
Yeah, that's probably going to be the last question. So the last question is the longest one, and say why you admire this person so much. Cool. Brian, can you think of
relationship with the person?
But you might not have a relationship with them, right? Because they might be a politician or a music person or something like this. Sorry?
The word when and where did you meet this person, or when was the first time you encountered the person? Right?
So we might, when and where did you meet the person isn't going to work because we don't always meet the people we admire. Now, encountered is a great question, but you probably won't see it in IELTS because encounter is too difficult. So you get an easier thing like how you know this person, because you can know them from the news, you can know them because they're in the family. And does anyone have a third question here?
Yes, normally it's a background information about what they do, how they contribute to the world, what it is that you admire about them. No, that's question four. Why do you admire this person? What do they do? Like,
yeah, what this person does, and what this person does, what do they do is a question we all know, perhaps, like, what do you do? Like, I'm a teacher, but not everyone might not know what this person does. They might think it's what they do in their free time. I'm going to make it simpler. What this person is like. Are they kind? Are they generous? Are they calm? Are they angry? Are they aggressive? Are they ambitious? So the whole of the person, it's not the perfect task, but okay, we've created a spontaneous task. So as we remember, this is the structure that I'm going to use, and I'm just going to take a few minutes. I'm not going to worry about the time. I'm not going to look at the clock, but I'm just going to show you what my notes would look like. So, simple opening comment. I might mention something about admire. Okay, I'm going to say something like I admire a lot of people. Da, 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 da. Say something like that at the beginning. I don't want a script here. We never want to write scripts, just some ideas. So I admire a lot of people. That's going to be my opening comment. So question one and details. Who the person is. So I'm going to say the person is Elliot Smith. And now I want to add details. Direct answer to question one plus details. No, let's go with David Lynch. Let's honor David Lynch, who died last month. David Lynch. Now, what am I going to say? I'm going to say film director, weird movies, Twin Peaks. Great. That's all I'm going to add. You might not understand my notes, but the important thing is I understand my notes. So I have the direct answer, David Lynch, and I have just some extra details that will help me to speak a little bit longer. The next thing, how I know this person. Friend recommended TV series, watched some interviews. Cool. So I have 2 points here. So that will be more than enough to take me through. Question three, what this person is like. Weird, strange, perhaps. And also, I'm going to mention, as an example of this, some extra details. Funny voice, interesting facial expressions. Cool. And then finally, I'm going to freestyle this answer for why I admire this person so much. Okay, I'm going to talk about something about art. I'm going to talk about something like mix of genres. I'm going to talk about sticking to principles and things like this. Cool. I have my 3 points here. So I didn't count how long that took me to make this list. And I don't want you to worry about time either when you take your notes. But with these notes, this will be more than enough to speak for 2 minutes. So I'm going to set my stopwatch now, and I'm just going to show you how I would approach this part 2 and how I would use my notes to make sure that I get through the whole 2 minutes. I have my stopwatch ready. Oh, 1 second. I have my stopwatch ready here. Now, also, I want you to think about a few things. Most importantly, I want you to think about how quickly I speak. A lot of people think they need to speak really quickly. You don't. Notice how calm I am, how I take some pauses, I take some breaths, I don't panic, I stay relaxed, I don't try to use crazy difficult language, I don't try to use crazy difficult vocab, I don't try to use super complicated grammar structures. I'm just sitting, relaxing, and speaking clearly. So my time starts now. Well, in my life, I admire a lot of people. Like, I admire a lot of musicians and sometimes some actors. But the person I want to tell you about today is a famous film director called David Lynch. Now, a lot of people know David Lynch for his weird movies. He has a lot of strange movies. But my favorite thing that David Lynch produced is a TV series called Twin Peaks. Now, my friend recommended this TV series to me. Her name is Masha, and she loved this. And every day she wrote to me and she said, Glyn, when are you going to watch Twin Peaks? So finally, I watched it, and it was amazing. After this, I watched some interviews with David Lynch, and I really felt like through these interviews, I got to know him as a person. Now, speaking about his character and what he's like, to be honest, a lot of people say that he's like weird or strange, and that's true, but I don't think that's always a bad thing. He also has a very funny voice. Like, his pronunciation is not normal. Like, he speaks quite loud. I don't know. I guess you just have to listen to it, but it sounds really funny. And he always has these interesting facial expressions. Like, if the interviewer asks him a strange question, you can really see the emotion on his face if he finds it strange or funny, for example. Now, finally, about why I admire him so much. He is such a principled person, right? A lot of people, film stars, film directors, they just do what the studio says, but not David Lynch. He makes his films his way. If it's comedy, if it's horror, if it's fantasy, it doesn't matter. Bang on 2 minutes. It feels like a long time, doesn't it? When you're speaking, it might feel like a short time. But I hope you can see how my notes really helped me here. I didn't use everything in my notes, but I wasn't even looking at the question. I was looking at my notes, okay, I'm going to speak about this thing, I'm going to speak about this thing, then this thing, then this thing. And this note taking really helped me. The stopwatch, the note taking helped me to get through that 2 minutes without freaking out, without breaking down, without repeating myself too much. And I want you guys to do the same. Take a look at this task here. Describe a time when you or someone you know made a lifestyle change to improve health. I'm going to send two things through to your chat. Firstly, I'm going to send this slide, just with this very, very, very simple structure. I've sent that to our Telegram chat. I'll also send it to our Zoom call. Sorry. Great. So that's the first thing. That's the strategy. The second thing I'm going to send you will be the task. Oh, no, that's a person you admire. Sorry. The next thing will be the task. So again, I've just sent this through to the Telegram chat, and I'll also put it in the Zoom chat. So I'd like each of you to work individually for this. And I'm going to give you a time limit of 5 minutes, not 1 minute. I'm going to give you a time limit of 5 minutes. I'll also, maybe it's a good idea, I'll also send through the notes that I took. I don't know if that will help you, but I'll send through the notes that I took. Chat there. I'll give you 5 minutes, guys. Just write your notes for this task, this one here. Nope, this one here. I've sent this in Telegram. just write your notes. I will ask some people to show your notes because I want to see what you're writing. But your 5 minutes start now.
Sorry.
Mhm.
All right. So that's the end of your 5 minutes. Does anyone want to be really brave and take a photo of their notes? Sorry, I'm just deleting some messages from the chat because they are getting in the way. Does anyone want to be really brave, take a photo of the notes that they've taken and send it to our Telegram chat? No?
I mean, I wrote it on a paper, so I'm sorry I didn't
You can't
write
take a
it
photo?
on. I mean, and my God, my.
Okay, never mind. You don't have to. I get. Oh, somebody has done it. Cool.
Okay.
All right. So Brian's done it
Thank you,
and
Brian.
typed it. Let's have a look. So let's have a look at the question first of all. Time when someone you or you know made a lifestyle change to improve their health. Sorry. Emotionality hook. Okay, very high level stuff. The need to start a family. Nice. My wife and I wanted to start a family but couldn't. Okay, that brings us into a health problem. Doctor said the concentration. Okay. One thing I would say is the notes here are a little bit long and they're in full sentences. And I will just show you again how I take my notes to be shorter, right? I write my notes in fragments. Now, of course, when you're just starting your preparation, you can take a little bit longer and you can write in full sentences. But my advice to you, to all of you, when you're taking your notes, don't write full sentences. You don't want to be reading your notes. You don't want to be reading like a script. You just want to read some of the key details. So, instead of doctor said the concentration of sugar in my blood affects sperm count, I would write something like, okay, Dr. Sperm Count, which sounds like a great superhero name, Dr. Sperm Count. I would write something like this. Cool. Affects the habitability. Good vocab here. Habitability of her womb, hormonal issues. Cool. Cool. All right. We get a lot of stuff here, and we also get a lot of good vocab that could be activated. I don't think this candidate will have difficulties filling the 2 minutes with these notes. I still think the notes should be shorter. Even though we're taking more time, we still want to write them in note form, not in full sentence form. But okay, nice example. So what I'm going to do now is you're going to work in pairs. I'm going to put you in your different groups again. One will be a group of 2, one will be a group of 3. And this time you're going to perform it. So you'll need to work like this, AB or ABC. One student will give the talk, but when the other person is giving the talk, please don't think about your turn. Please listen to your partner and remember some of the things that I brought up here, right? My thoughts. Think about these things when your partner is speaking. Think about, does the candidate feel comfortable after the 30 seconds? Does the candidate feel lost after 1 minute? Does the candidate repeat their ideas? Do you have to work hard to follow the candidate's story? And does it feel like one blob of speech, or is there a nice clear transition from point to point? Again, I'm going to put this stuff in our Telegram chat. It's one here, and I'll put it also in our Zoom chat. I need to stop sharing for this there. So I've put those thoughts, the things that I think about when I'm assessing. I'll put you into pairs. Each of you deliver your speech. You remember you have 2 minutes to give your talk. If you do have phones with stopwatches, please use these stopwatches. If you are the partner and the candidate goes longer than 2 minutes, remember, just say thank you and stop it. After each person has given the talk, then give each other feedback, speak a little bit about, did it go well, did it go badly, but think about those points that I mentioned. All right, I'm going to throw you into pairs. I'll give you plenty of time for this, maybe up to 7 or 8 minutes in total. We're back down to 4 people here. Cool. Okay, we lost another candidate. Another candidate disappeared, unfortunately. And I think maybe it's a bad idea to continue these type of free lessons. I think maybe, and I can see now somebody's trying to join even now, when it's time to finish. Where were you? Sohag? Why do you keep cutting out?
Actually, another phone come in my phone.
Okay, I'm gonna put you in a group with somebody else. So it's another reason why I don't allow phones. And I think I'm definitely going to make it a rule, no phones. And I'm definitely going to be stricter with this in the future. Maybe it'll be a better idea instead of opening it up to everybody just to choose some students who I know have reliable connections. That might be more instructive. Because it's difficult to get through it when students are coming and then they're leaving, and then some people are on phones and they can't see what we're doing, and then other people have connection problems. It's tough to get through it, but it's an experiment. Anyway, let's see how everyone's doing.
Type of lifestyle which wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. And because of that, I lost my aunt and my father, which we realized that very hurting. So I have to take a bold step to stop eating sweet things or drinking any sweet thing. I have to do exercise to avoid such in order to burn down fat in me so that I will not, I will lose weight and avoid obesity with such. So that makes me always go for control. And with the effect of that or the affected health of that, I love to go for control for that and other health issue to take my system all the time. And I've come to realize that on the positive side, I feel light enough. My body, I'm very active. I'm very active. On top of that, exercise has become my routine, you know, because doing exercise, I really found myself uh, easy to go around. Every other thing, activities goes easy, smoothly. I'm not heavy like.
Comfortable talking.
Yeah, you have to tell that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. I need to. I
Yeah.
need, yeah, everything's, went cool. I didn't see like hesitating or, like something. There is no. What do you think, Zohak? Right? I, s-
I
did I?
think I
Okay, so still at 2:30. Sorry, at 11:30 my time. Still, people are trying to join 1 hour after we start. Amazing for me that people think it's fine to turn up 1 hour late. Um, mhm. Okay, so I will give the guys just a little bit more time to get through them. I will select also one candidate to do this in front of the group, and we'll see how they do. But we'll change the task anyway. I'll disappear, and we'll check on the other students.
Her harmful in express.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You joined after, like, Okay,
yeah
okay.
after my speaking.
Does
I
it feel
actually
like? Mm.
I actually heard some speeches at the finish finish time.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Does it feel like one blob of speech, or is there clear progress? Yeah, that's what I was talking about. I mean, this
Yeah.
is maybe the only thing I noticed. No. So, okay, shall we start with Sohag? You want to start your part, or if you want me to start, it's okay.
Yeah, remember the feedback should come at the end. So I want all of you to do your turns first,
Oh, okay,
and then at the
okay,
end
okay.
do the feedback. Because the problem is, if your feedback is too long, after some time, I will pull you back to the main room, and then it's like,
Okay,
one
okay,
guy
okay,
didn't do
okay,
that.
okay, no
Cool,
problem.
cool.
Okay.
Okay, you
Actually,
want to
I'm not
start?
write down. Actually, I'm not write down my topic.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
okay,
Abdullah.
Let's start.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, but I need just to find the questions. Okay. To start with, I think like being a healthy, sorry, I forgot to set the time. Sorry. Okay.
I am starting.
To start with, I mean, like being healthy, it's very important to our health, and we should know always to take care of our health. After that, to answer this question, I start with my experience when I start going to the gym, and I changed my lifestyle for a little bit because I used to eat a lot of junk food, and I started to gain a lot of weight. So I had to change it because it's gonna affect my health in the later for sure. So, why I did that? I did that because I was gaining a lot of weight, and I think it's gonna affect my health in the future.
So this group is going to need a little bit more time, just because they started giving feedback after the first person's turn. So I think probably in about 4 minutes, I'll pull them back. Just taking a look through the Telegram chat to see if there's anything there. Maybe just while we're waiting, I can do a little bit of analysis on these candidates' notes. Let me just pull them up into a different window, just so people watching at home, people watching at home can maybe learn something. Who knows? So let's have a look at this first set of notes here. Let me share my screen. So the problem with this is just that it's not, it's in one blob of text, right? And what we can see with my notes, I'm not the king of note taking, but what we can see with my notes is a clear, this is first, this is next, and this is last. Just like in the task, this is first, this is next, this is last. And so it's easy for me to create a sense of progress through my turn, through my part 2, where I can talk about, I admire a lot of people like movie stars and musicians. Then I'm going to talk about David Lynch, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to talk about David Lynch, blah, 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 blah. Right. So my notes match very nicely to this task 2. Now, this candidate's notes, unfortunately, this candidate's notes don't match nicely because it's just camp, not concern, life, and it's not clear for me what's the first part, what's the next part, what's the last part. So even when you're taking your notes, make sure that they're not really paragraphs, but we want them to look like paragraphs to show what I mean here. Instead of having notes that look like, let me make my pen smaller. Instead of having notes that look like this, we want notes that look like this. Right, where you've got that, instead of just one blob. It does make a difference. It can make a huge difference. This seems crazy long. Can't even person you admire. Yeah, it just seems too much. Oh, the person has written down the task. You don't need to do that in the task, but I guess maybe to make it easier. Okay, then the notes are here. And again, a similar problem that at least the candidate has used arrows here, that helps them. But take another piece of paper and just structure them nicely. It will be much easier to follow. It's so much easier to follow when you have it spaced correctly. That's the correct word I'm looking for. The spacing. So, I think it's pretty clear that I have this, this, and this. It's not all one blob. Anyway, I won't repeat myself too much. But instructive, right? Always interesting to look at people's notes like this. There are small things that I think of immediately and think like, well, obviously I want to break it up and have spacing, but it shows that many candidates don't think this way. And sometimes I was speaking to Brick about this recently, that when you're a teacher who's been doing this for so long, certain things are just so obvious to you that you don't mention them, and you don't always realize what might not be so obvious for a student. So yeah, instructive. Anyway, let's pull them back. I'm going to give a candidate a lucky chance to do a real part 2 in front of the whole group, and yeah, we'll see how they do. Okay, coming back. All right. So I'm going to pick one lucky or unlucky candidate, perhaps, to do another speaking part 2, this time in front of the group. And this time I will give you feedback on your part 2, and I'll give you a band score too. So, Virendra, can you give me any number between 1 and 10? This is not a difficult question, my friend. You can say 7, you can say 3, you can say 9, you can say 2, you can...
Yeah,
Let's
8.
say Ravindra, 8.
8? Okay.
8. Yeah.
Abdullah, congratulations. You are the lucky or unlucky person who's going to perform in front of the class. This time I'm going to give you slightly less preparation time. Sorry for the other guys. You're going to be sitting there for 3 minutes doing not much, but feel free if you guys want to write your own preparation for this and then record a video and send it to the group. I will be happy to give feedback on those recordings that you give. So, for all of you, you can write your preparation for this if you want. Slightly less time this time. So 3 minutes. And just a point on some notes here. There were some notes like this one. I don't know whose it is, but it's clear that the spacing isn't very good here, right? It just feels like, again, a blob of text. And what we can see with my spacing in my notes is that it looks more like this than like this. This is bad. This is better because we see this first, then this, then this. And so when you're taking your notes, please make sure that you have the right spacing. The first part at the top, then a chunk in the middle, and then the bottom part. So all of you can take notes if you want. This is your task. I'd like you to describe a close friend you have. Remember, 3 minutes this time. In your notes, don't write full sentences, just write notes. Your 3, and this will be you, Abdullah, who is performing in front of the group. But you are all welcome to take notes and record yourselves doing this task later if you like. So your 3 minutes of preparation time start now. Okay, so that's the end of your preparation time. To remind you, you will have between 1 and 2 minutes to give your talk, and I will let you know when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yeah, okay. I mean, to start with, friendship and social connections are very important. You know, as a human nature, it's very important to talk to other people because basically just how we are. I mean, to start with, I'm gonna talk about my friend Bisher. He is a very friendly guy, funny at the same time. We met in college actually during an anatomy class. I remember for the first time we when sit beside beside or when he sat beside me and he started laughing about what the teacher given us and he told me he can't understand anything and it was actually our first conversation talking to each other. So, and I knew it at the beginning because I know this person is gonna be like one of my closest friend because you know you had this first impression. I think it's very unique. Anyway, we lived together at the same dorm in college because my university was in another. It wasn't in my city, so we had to live in a dorm together, and we spend a lot of time actually. We play video games together. We having lunch, dinner. Like he was like more than a brother than me, like than anything. Anyway, friendship is very important because I think sometimes when you have a close friend, you can tell him some secrets. You can tell your parents, or you can ask him for help if you really need when you are like in a bad situation.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, okay.
Cool. So, I made a recording of that separately. Sorry. So first of all, I'm interested if anyone else has any feedback for Abdullah. Well, first of all, let's go to Abdullah. How do you feel about your performance in this task?
I mean, it was. I'm like a little bit, you know, shaken because it was my first time. Anyway, but it's okay. I noticed myself like I did a lot of mistakes, but it's okay. It's okay. It was my first time talking to in front of people and trying to express myself. So yeah, it's kind of hard, you know, but that's
It's a
okay.
horrible feeling, isn't it? Like even when you're teaching, like if you're teaching face to face, I remember my first class, and I will never forget this first class. I was terrible. I was awful. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do, what to say. I thought everyone's going to think I'm an idiot. Who am I? Why am I here? And even when you do this on Zoom, you know, when you're meeting new people, it's being recorded. But I think this is great practice for people because Abdullah, I know your English level is super strong. But what we always see with candidates is when they have to perform, and especially on test day, the level of English can sometimes drop because you're nervous and because, you know, you start freaking out because there's only like it's happening right now. And if there's one mistake, it's all over. So it's normal, but it's good experience to have this pressure and to speak under pressure. Any specific thinking about the structure, Abdullah? Any specific things that went well or didn't go so well?
I mean, I think I'm kind of messed up when talking about my friend describing and describing, and I didn't describe my friends very well. And I don't know, yeah, maybe. So I was noticing myself very well because was trying to generate ideas. So it wasn't that easy to think that I'm like did some wrong here or you know.
So I'm going to go to the rest of the guys now. Forgetting about grammar and fluency and vocab and all of that stuff, just thinking about these things. Does anyone have any comments for Abdullah based on these points? Either positive or negative or neutral.
Can I comment on something first? What is the name of this guy?
His name
The
Bishir.
friend
Bishir.
Bashar.
Bishar, yeah.
Okay, I think
It's kind
he's
of a
going
weird
to
name.
love. You've taken a lot of time talking about him, so having to describe who he is, how you met, there's a long list of descriptions about, his attributes, all that was you ticked the box on that one. I wish you talked more about your feelings. Because when you're talking about your feelings for people and how they make you feel, eventually you would start using more natural language and then your intonation would change because you're talking without practice. I would suggest that, go deep in there. A lot of people would say, oh, Brian, you're trying to make it harder, but that's where you find the better vocabulary or the natural transitions. So don't be afraid. Like, also stop being an examiner and a student at the same time. Be in one mindset. Like, I think you were overthinking yourself or judging yourself while you're performing. That's why there's reformulation here and there. You made a mistake, move on. You're really, really good, honestly. You're enjoyable to listen to.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you want to leave about, at least 20 or 30 seconds, I think, for this last question. And as Brian mentions, very often, not always, but very often this last question allows you to get into those more emotional things, which can, make you use nice, precise
Right.
vocab and can change your intonation. Cool. Usually we see kind of factual things here, and then like more evaluative, personal things in the last question. And of course, different language is required for those different things. I don't know. Does anyone else have any comments before I give my feedback? Nope. So, first, congratulations, you got through it and you spoke for 2 minutes. That's pretty cool. I like the way that you started. You spoke about friendship in general. That was clear. Then you said who the friend was. And I felt like this was a little bit short, who the friend is. And then how you met was like crazy long. And so it felt like a little bit of imbalance. And then
Yeah.
going from how you met to what you do together, I didn't notice that this transition. It just kind of happened. Maybe I need to rewatch it and understand that. But I want to ask, do you live with Bisha now, or did you live with him in the past?
No, in the past, I mean, we graduated
Because
from.
you were using present tenses.
Ah, okay, okay. Yeah,
Now this
that's
talks
wrong.
about what you do together. Do you still see this guy?
Actually, no. I had to travel, so it's like I saw him like 2, 3 months ago. So
Cool. And
yeah.
this would be great. This would be great information to add here, right? Well, speaking about things we do together, I don't really see him that often now, but we used to live together. And when
Oh,
we
okay.
lived together, we
Yeah. Mm,
because I think
mm.
you said we live together, and I wasn't sure if you were saying we live or we lived, and it was like, where are we in terms of time? So that kind of confused me.
So
So
yeah, yeah. I should stick the question to my real
yeah,
experience, not just
just
answering directly.
just like a human,
Mhm,
if I ask you like now, right, what do you do with him? You'd probably say, well,
mhm,
not much because I don't see him. I last saw him
mhm.
3 months ago.
Right.
That's the normal human information that we put here.
That's right. That's
So
right.
we
That's
met. We don't really do much together anymore, but we used to do a lot of things, like we played. So I just want to watch this. I'm going to share my volume, and this hopefully will, I mean, it will be super instructive for Abdullah, I'm sure, but I hope it will be useful for the others too. I'm going to share my sound and I'm going to put this. I hope this works. Can you tell me if you can hear it? Sorry. 1 second.
basically just how we are. I mean, to start with, I'm gonna.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Cool. Right. So I'm going to play this back. I'm just going to add some comments as we go. Should
Yeah. Okay.
start.
I mean, to start with, friendship and
So notice you use to start with, which is absolutely fine, but you repeat this very shortly.
social connections are very important.
Social connections, love it.
As a human nature, it's very
So human nature doesn't use article a human nature, it's uncountable. So these tiny mistakes with articles, human nature, not a human nature.
important to talk to other people because basically just how we are. I mean, to start
That's a bit confusing. Just how we are, okay?
with, I'm gonna
And then you repeat just to start with. So you want to avoid that. You've already used to start with, and now you're using to start with again. It's not a huge problem. It's not a critical problem, but it's noticeable.
talk about my friend Bisher.
Cool. Talk about. Good.
He is a very friendly guy,
Cool. Love this adjective. Very friendly guy.
funny at the same time.
All good.
We met in college,
So clear past tense here. Right? We met in college.
actually, during an anatomy class.
Now, watch how much detail you give here. For me, you give a little bit too much detail.
I remember for the first time we went sit beside the.
So you can see a bit of reformulation here. You're struggling. And I mentioned this thing about how does the candidate feel after 30 seconds. So there is like a 10 or 20-second stop, but now you're at that 30-second stage right now. Right. So this is where 30 seconds starts. And notice how you kind of drop off.
I remember for the first time we went sit beside the.
Interesting, isn't it? The first 30 seconds, you're absolutely fine. You're free flowing. You're fluent. After 30 seconds, you drop off a little bit.
Or when he sat beside me and he start laughing.
He start laughing. Present time or past time?
About what the teacher given us, and he told me he can't understand anything. And
about what the teacher. So we get quite a lot of these like mid-sentence hesitations. Some of these disfluencies are normal, but again, we don't want too much. What the teacher given us, not sure what tense that is, what the teacher gave us or had given us is better.
It was actually our first conversation talking to each other.
And again, we're still on this how you met part, right? So you spent a little bit of time who the friend is, and now just too much time. We want these questions to be, balanced. I don't like giving exact numbers, but something like 15 seconds, 20, 20, 20, 30 seconds, something like that is a good thing. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly 20 seconds, but we want them to be approximately the same side, and that gives it also the sense of progress when things are the same length. Let's keep going.
So, and I knew it at the beginning because I know this person is gonna be like one of my closest friends.
I know this person gonna be. I knew this person was gonna be.
Because you had this first impression. I think it's very unique.
And at this point, I'm lost now. I'm thinking, are you talking about why the friendship is important to you? Or are we still on this how you met? Because we didn't have the what you do together. So I'm not quite sure where we are here.
Anyway, we live together.
We live together. Not sure if it's present or past, and that's fine. Because together begins with a t. We live together, we lived together. They sound the same. So you don't lose points for this. But then thinking, okay, present time or past time?
At the same dorm. In college, because
in college, which to me suggests that it's past time, but it might be present.
My university was in another.
My university was past time.
It wasn't in my city, so we had to live in a dorm together, and we spend a lot of time.
We spend a lot of time. That sounds like present to me.
Actually, we play video games.
We play video games. This sounds like present.
Together, we having lunch.
We having lunch. This isn't a tense. We have lunch, or we are having lunch, or we had lunch, or we were having lunch. We having. That's systematically bad grammar. Sorry.
Dinner. Like he was like more than a brother than me. Like.
And now he was. So from the grammar that you use, it's really unclear if you live together or if you used to live together.
Than anything.
And now it's clear you're talking about what you do together, which again is confusing me about like, okay, is it present or is it past?
Anyway, friendship is very important.
Cool. So you leave yourself 20 seconds, but you say friendship is very important. That sounds like friendship in general, not this friendship with Bishar.
Because I think.
But really, I want you to focus on this friendship with Bishar, not friendship in general.
Sometimes when you have a close friend. Yeah.
And again, sometimes when you have a close friend, seems like you're speaking about friendship in general, but we want you to speak about your friendship with Bishar.
You can tell him some secrets, you can tell your parents, or you can.
But that sounds in general. So speak about Bishar. So what I like most about my friendship with Bishar is that I can, tell him secrets. And he's such a loyal and reliable guy. I know that he would never let me down. We're talking about Bishar, not friendships in general.
Asking for help if you really need, when you are like in a bad situation. So yeah, okay.
Okay, so to give very quick marks, and I want to say thank you for sitting and doing that, because I understand that sitting in front of a group of people and listening to feedback, like psychologically, that can be very, very difficult, because it feels like one guy is telling me why I'm a horrible, bad person. And I'm really not doing that. I think your English is great. I just know that you are underperforming in this part. And I just want to show you where some of those weaknesses are. So thank you for sitting and listening to that. I fully understand that sometimes it isn't easy. So a couple of points. Fluency and coherence for me, between the 5 and the 6. I think you probably have enough for the 6 because you filled the whole time. You were mostly on topic, but sometimes, like I mentioned, it feels a little bit imbalanced. There are some breakdowns, and it's not clear if you're talking about friendship or general or this friendship. So probably, and I would be generous and give the 6 here. In terms of grammar, unfortunately, I would give 5. I feel like there are too many systematic mistakes. I know if you took a grammar test, you probably get C1. In a speaking test like this, it comes out as about band 5. Too many systematic mistakes. It's unclear if you're talking about present time or past time. Vocab, I think you definitely have enough for a 6 here. You might, you're not far away from the 7 in terms of your vocab here. And pronunciation, I think 6, generally easy to understand. Not a huge range of intonation, but not difficult to understand what you're saying. So this comes out as like 6.566, which unfortunately is 5.5, but impression mark feels closer to a 6 than a 5.5. So that's my breakdown of your speaking. And I understand it's not easy to do that. Now, the other guys might be sitting there thinking, what about me? Why don't you give me feedback on my speaking part too? Well, guys, if you want to record yourselves making a video, now, of course, you can take the video, you can stop, and then you can do it again, and you can redo it until it's perfect. Okay. But try to do it in 1 take or no more than 3 takes. If you want me to give you feedback on your task doing this, you can record a video of yourselves doing this. You can send it to me in the Telegram chat. I will then cut the video, put it together, give feedback, upload it to YouTube, and I will give you guys this level of feedback. Abdullah, if you want another turn at doing this, you're welcome to record that video too. But I hope it's instructive for you just to see, what an examiner sees and why they might give you, if you feel like, hold on, I'm a band 7 user, easily. Why did I get 6.5? Hopefully that helps you to understand what can happen. A couple of points before, I know I'm speaking a lot, I'm sorry. A couple of points before I let you guys go. You really need to feel 2 minutes. And so do as many part 2 tasks as possible. I can feel 2 minutes because I've done thousands of IELTS writing, speaking tasks too. I can feel 1 minute because in my life, the amount of FCE, like Cambridge First, Cambridge Advanced, CAE, I've done so many of those tasks. So I feel 2 minutes. And if you do 100 of these tasks, you will start to feel 2 minutes too. Do them with a stopwatch. When you're practicing at home, use a stopwatch. Keep an eye on the stopwatch as you're going along so you see where you are. It helps. Obviously, in the real test, you won't have access to that, but you'll start to feel it. Record yourselves and watch the recording back. Look for areas to improve. Sometimes we record ourselves, or sometimes we don't record ourselves. We practice and we think, oh, that was great or that was terrible. But that's not objective. That's just your feeling. Watch the recording back. Think about some of those points I mentioned. Think about how you are after 30 seconds, how the second minute goes, and so on. Experiment with different prep times. Try preparing for 10 minutes. Try writing a speech. Try preparing with 5 minutes, with 3 minutes, with 2 minutes, with 1 minute. Brian, try preparing with 0 seconds. See how you feel under pressure. Just do it off the bat. See how you feel. Are your performances better with 10 minutes? Are they better with 0 seconds? Maybe you're over preparing. It's up to you guys to experiment with that. The more you do, the faster your preparation will be. If you do this 100 times, maybe the first 10 times will be 10 minutes, then 5 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 2 minutes. You will get it down to 1 minute. And just that final note, having this strategy will help you fill 2 minutes comfortably. It will improve your fluency a little bit. It will help you, to make progress through the part 2. It will not make your language better. If you can't control, present simple, present continuous, past simple, if you can't control singular and plural, if you don't know enough vocab, the strategy, I know there are these YouTube videos like use this strategy and get a band 9. No, it doesn't work that way. The strategy can help you to fill the 2 minutes. The strategy will not make your vocab, pronunciation, and grammar better. Yeah. So I know I've spoken a lot, but I hope some of this was useful or instructive. Does anyone have any burning questions before I let you guys go?
Yes, I have one. Glenn.
Sorry,
How
Brian,
do you
I can see your mouth
determine?
moving, but I can't quite hear you.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. How do you determine which YouTube influencer to actually follow or not follow? Because, some people are claiming they know what they're saying, and some people, how do you make that determination?
So my approach to it is similar to my approach to cryptocurrency, which is everything is a scam. Don't trust anything. If you want to use it, fine. But everyone's a liar, right? Everyone on YouTube, and please consider that I might be a liar and a scammer myself. You guys have to take, not just you guys, but candidates have to take responsibility for their own learning, right? Sometimes evaluating who the experts are can be difficult. Just because someone is an ex-examiner doesn't mean that they are experts in teaching IELTS or strategies, things like this, right? I've mentioned, I will stop the recording here.